This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by
Connections Restored, helping people who have suffered from trauma, PTSD, and addictions. Connect with us at connectionsrestored.com. Connections Restored.
Hi there, friends. How are you today? This is Amy Boswinkle. I am an intuitive and an energetic mind, body, and soul coach. For those of you who are new to the audience, I found a way to heal myself through alternative methods and approaches when conventional medicine didn't work for me for issues such as addictions, trauma, PTSD, and binge eating disorder, along with other various things that got thrown in there because, right, life kind of throws us all curveballs and we all have various obstacles that we have to deal with in life. I am so excited to share episode 29 today with all of you, and that is how to deal with the external and internal pressures of life, right? Because we all deal with these pressures that life throws at us. And for those of you, again, who are new to the audience, I am the owner of Connections Restored. It is my baby. It is a business centered fully around helping others stretch, grow, expand, and evolve into their best version selves. And I am an affiliate of the Bill and Callie Show Network. And oh my goodness, have I had such an amazing time the past week connecting with so many new people. Oh my gosh, you all fill my heart up so much. You bring me so much joy. I wanted to express that before I started and dove into the topic today. And here we go. We're about to dive in right now. Are you guys ready? I know that I'm ready, and I am so excited to share today's information with you. Have you guys ever found yourself in life and you're dealing with all kinds of pressures? Maybe that is pressure from your job to show up and to perform more work duties. Maybe that's a pressure to bring more money into your household, and especially with COVID and the way that the world is moving right now, maybe money has been tight. Maybe only one member of the family is working, or maybe both members of the family. If you're a husband and a wife, or two partners, or whatever you call your relationship, nobody's working right now, and that can build up a lot of pressure, maybe because of pressures going on in the household. Maybe the kids have been at home just a little bit too long, right? Even though some children have gone back to school, there are these pressures, right? And so maybe over the past 6 months or so, we've been indulging in a little more alcohol than what we normally do. And not that there's a problem, right? But there's been this pressure, right? The kids are home and we're feeling, we need our own space and we can't go outside. Maybe some of you indulge in recreational drugs, and maybe that has gotten a little bit out of hand. Maybe it's grown more out of a recreational use and it is being judged to be a bigger problem than what we would like it to be. And maybe it's affecting the family. Maybe it's affecting our life, right? And we're dealing with that, and we're dealing with, why can't I connect to my willpower? Why can't I just do this? Why in the past have I been able to quit when I wanted to, and now I can't quit? Maybe we're dealing with relationship issues. Maybe we don't like to be alone, and we keep arriving at this space of finding partner after partner after partner after partner, believing that that person is going to fill that hole in our heart, that emptiness, that yearning inside, only to find that we chose wrong again, and we start judging ourselves like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? Why can't I find the right person? And what I've found on the journey of exploring my own life and working with my clients is, there are these internal and external pressures that we deal with in life, right? They cause a sensation in our body. And that sensation in our body might feel like a tightness in our chest. It might feel like a tightness in our throat. It might feel like butterflies or anxiety in our stomach. It might feel like anxiety in our mind, and in the mind, it's almost like a lightning storm that goes down our body, and it starts to affect our whole body, and our heart starts to palpitate, and we start to over addictively think, and we start to think about all the things that we need to do, and then we get stuck in overwhelm, and then when we're stuck in overwhelm, we're frozen with fear. And what I've learned along the journey regarding overwhelm is it's a lack of clarity around what the one step forward is, right? What I learned on the journey of healing myself from, alcoholism, drug addiction, binge eating disorder, not knowing how to talk to people, not being able to connect with people in this world, being stuck in overwhelm, dealing with extreme shyness, and the list could go on, is that, when I was stuck in those spaces of anxiety and overwhelm, I actually didn't have clarity around what I really wanted, and also taking action towards that thing that I said that I wanted, right? A lot of times in my life, I wanted inner peace. I wanted to feel like I belonged. I wanted to learn how to love myself. I wanted to learn how to connect with people in the world and not be so afraid of people, especially men, because of abuse that I had suffered when I was very, very young. I had this aversion and this fear of men, and, I wanted to go out into the world, and I wanted to just feel free. I felt like I was a prisoner in my own mind. I felt like I was a prisoner in my own body. I felt like I was a prisoner to my own life of sadness and heartache and trauma and depression. And as I started to learn and grow and heal on the path, I started to learn that, through alternative methods, there were these energetic systems in our body. And chakras was one of the words that I learned, and I started to study and understand Reiki, becoming a Reiki master teacher and being able to go and teach students Reiki along with my coaching business and along with my school, the Science of Energy and Evolution, and teaching the students how to become medical intuitives, which is what I had to learn how to do so that I could figure out the root cause of what was actually going on inside of me, because there were all these gaps. It was like the bridge never went completely down to where I could travel over to the other side. It was like I had certain pieces of information, but there was a gap, and I couldn't ever quite make the connection. And when I started to study all these different alternative approaches, I started to understand how the heart chakra, which is located right here in the center of our chest, held onto stuck, repressed emotions that most people actually didn't know how to deal with. And that these stuck, repressed emotions caused us to elicit symptoms out into the world. And these symptoms were overwhelm. These symptoms were anxiety. These symptoms were sleeplessness. These symptoms were anger and bitterness. These symptoms were arguments with the important people in our life. These symptoms were losing job after job after job. Whatever your pattern was, that pattern was literally just a signal and a sign that something was out of alignment. And that we held on to and continued to judge ourselves over what we knew was a problem and said we wanted to correct, yet maybe we just still didn't know how, because there were these gaps in the bridge. The bridge wasn't quite connecting. And as I learned how the human body held on to these stuck, repressed emotions, that it created a type of circuitry right in our central nervous system, and that whenever I went out into life and I had to deal with people and I had to have conversations, which for me was really, really hard. It may not seem like that's hard as you're watching me talk to, hundreds and thousands of people these days when I do these Bill and Callie show videos, but this isn't a version of Amy Boswinkle 3.5 years ago. I promise you, that this version that you're watching right now and listening to right now did not exist 3.5 years ago. I could barely get words out. And when I did, I had this really squeaky, tight voice. I kind of sounded like a young man in puberty, where I could it was really loud and kind of gruff, and then it would squeak, and then I would go into a whisper in my throat, and I had no control over that. And it's literally because all of this stuck, repressed emotions was trying to come out and express itself through my throat chakra, but I had so much fear around sharing who I was with people. I lived in so much shame, and I lived in so much guilt, and I lived in so much fear of what other people would think of me because of choices, poor choices I had made that I had to own, right? I had to be able to look at myself, here's that word again, with clarity around what I was actually doing. I hear a lot of times, right, with my clients and even on my own healing journey, that people want something better for our life, because we do. We are inherently good, right? All people, in my eyes, are inherently good inside. We've just been taught, conditioned, and programmed to see ourselves as bad. And whenever we load up the character of the bad guy inside of us, and that not good enough, and all of seeing everything going wrong and seeing ourselves as stupid or fat or ugly or this or that or whatever labels have been expressed to us that we start to take on as our own identity, we start to shut down. And as we start to shut down, we become a different character than who we were truly meant to be. And that character might load up as making bad choices. So we could judge people and say, you know what, they're inherently bad, and maybe their choices aren't in alignment with what we deem as good in this world, right? Because it isn't good when people are hurting one another or abusing one another or killing one another or whatever it is they are doing to one another. But what I've learned is there's this pain inside that people just don't know how to express, because we haven't been taught, we haven't learned how to express our feelings in a healthy manner. So a lot of times when we see something going on in another person, because we don't want to look at ourselves, we will yell at them and we will criticize them and we will try to put them in this box to make them perfect, to fit our ideal and our standard and our expectation, because we're perfectionists, because we're always creating this standard and this bar of this is how I act. Why can't you act that way? Instead of just letting go and just allowing ourselves to be good enough and allowing the other people that we say that we love, and when we truly love somebody, letting them be themselves and letting go of that bar and letting go of that standard and letting people just be, because that is what creates less pressure inside the other people that we love. But because we believe that we know best sometimes, even when we see someone traveling down a path that is destructive, it's really hard to take that step back and see through a lens of compassion and empathy. And we want to continue to judge and say, look at them, look at what they're doing, that's bad, they're going down the wrong path. And a lot of times that person does know, whether it's conscious or unconscious, but sometimes there are these demons and these dark places that swallow us up, to where when all of that energy, all of those emotions, those stuck, repressed, negative emotions are inside, we create a barrier or a heart wall that creates numbness. It creates a jail cell so that we actually don't have to feel what is going on in life any longer. So that it becomes easier and easier and easier to choose to make choices around things that are detrimental to our health, that are detrimental to our relationships, that are detrimental to our jobs, that is detrimental to our finances coming, that are detrimental to our connection to our higher power, that are detrimental to our health, that is detrimental to our relationship with our children and all the other people in our life that we say that we care about. We'll create these numb spaces so that we can continue to numb out and not deal with the pain that is actually going on. Recently, I've heard people expressing this as being detached from life because life just feels too hard. Because what I've learned is that men have been taught in our world to suppress certain emotions like crying or feeling sad or feeling guilt. But it's okay for them to express anger and exert their power to get their way. That's socially acceptable to an extent, right? And that women are, right, like are overly emotional and they're always crying and like, I don't know, she's got PMS, she's moody, what's wrong with her, right? But we aren't. Society teaches women that it's not okay for us to express our anger or our frustration or our bitterness to an extent. And that creates a detriment inside of the human. It creates a detriment inside of our feeling system. It creates a detriment in our heart. It creates holes in the soul, creates holes in the heart. It makes us feel less than, unworthy, stuck in shame and guilt and fear, which are really low vibrational feelings. Shame is the lowest vibrational feeling on this planet. It resonates at 20 hertz. Guilt is at 40 hertz. Fear resonates at 100 hertz. Those are really low vibrational feelings, right? And in order to transcend from those low vibrational feelings all the way up to the higher vibrational feelings like love and inner peace, we have to travel a resonance of 400 hertz, right? Love resonates at about 500 hertz. Inner peace resonates at about 600 hertz. Yet we continue to get judged when we're in the wrong, and it creates this internal pressure. And then we feel like we aren't good enough, and then we try harder, and then we fall off track, and then we judge ourselves, and then we go and we move towards patterns or addictions that will allow us to numb out, like choosing foods that are really sugary, or choosing foods that are really full of, trans fats, or things that really bog our body down and keeps us, right? Whenever we're making poor food choices and we're already feeling bad, there's an energy to overeating. There's an energy to overeating sugar. There's an energy to overeating carbs. There's an energy to overeating fried foods, right? It bogs us down. So we're continually creating our own stagnation. It's not that people are motivated towards what they say they want, because they really want what they say they want. It's just that in order to swing the pendulum over into the direction of the positive motivation or behavior change, it requires a huge shift, right? So it's not that people aren't motivated. It's just that they're motivated towards their old way of being. They're motivated towards their negative traits. They're motivated towards their pattern. They're motivated towards what feels comfortable even when it doesn't feel comfortable. Even though they say they want to change, they're motivated in an opposite direction of what they say they want. Right? So people actually are incredibly motivated. People are absolutely amazing. It's just a behavior change. What I've learned on this journey is that knowledge does not equal behavior change. Just because we know something doesn't mean we're actually going to change. And of course, yes, we have to make an empowered decision that we're going to go to any length to make the change we say we want to have, no matter what obstacle life loads up to us, no matter what the monetary amount is, no matter what it takes to get there, no matter what other people think of us, no matter what other people say to us as we're starting to create that behavior change, and we start to shift our motivation, and we start to shift into the person who's happy, and it seems like that should be something that's really easy to do, but when you've been an unhappy person for a really long time in your life, to swing the pendulum over to the person who's happy takes more work than people believe. And when it doesn't happen fast enough for their liking, for their brain's time frame, they will fall off track. And that's why it's really important to find guides on the journey who will give you the bite-sized chunks, rather than, this is where people fall off track. They're trying to get from point A to point B, and they're jumping and they're missing all 12 steps, 14 steps, 16 steps, 100 steps in between point A and point B, because they're not chunking down their end result small enough, and they're not celebrating their success along the way. So they're literally creating their own sabotage blocks because they haven't been taught. How do we get rid of this stuck, repressed emotion? How do we get rid of this internal pressure? How do we quit arguing with our significant other? How do we stop drinking as much alcohol as what we're drinking, or eliminate alcohol or drugs? How do we stop overeating food? How do we stop whatever, right? Spending. How do we stop spending so much money? Spending addictions are real. They're an addiction just like everything else. So is sex addiction, so is pornography addiction, so is gambling addictions. They're all addictions. Yet we have these tiers that, like, this drug, like crystal meth and crack and heroin, and right, these are horrible. But to the person suffering from a spending addiction or a gambling addiction or a sex addiction, it's just as painful. But yet we're going to see the drug addict or the alcoholic, and we're going to label them, and we're going to judge them harsher than the other person, right? Because let's just face it, society can be really judgmental sometimes, and it hurts, and that creates more pressure inside of the heart. It creates more pressure, and it creates us to judge ourselves even more. And then when other people are saying, you should do, it makes us want to do the thing we actually want to stop more, because we want to numb out, and we want to detach more because we love you and we don't want to hurt you, but we don't know how to get there. When you find the right guide on your journey, you're literally able to allow this healing to occur, to allow these stuck, repressed emotions to heal. And it's a journey. Healing is a journey. It's a transformational journey, but it's a journey. And when you think of the word journey, what do you think of? I'm curious, what do you think of? You can put it right in the comments right now. I would love to see what your interpretation of what a journey is. My interpretation of a journey is allowing yourself to go on this adventure that's going to be full of plot twists and turns. There's going to be hills and valleys. There's going to be celebrations. There's going to be moments of tears, happy and sad. But you keep traveling forward. You keep traveling forward no matter what, because that end result that you want it more than anything. You want it more than anything, and you're willing to go to any length to have it no matter what. A lot of times people get caught up in money, you know, and I get it, because I've been there too. Didn't come from a family with money. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother segment. But what I've learned on my own journey is I have to look at my problem and see what the actual cost of the problem is compared to the dollar amount the person is asking. And what a huge mindset shift that was for me. What is the actual cost of your problem, Amy? Right? I had to look at what is the actual cost of you continuing to argue with people in relationships. It might mean breaking things apart. And maybe I've been with this person for years and years and years. And everything's just gone now. And dealing with the mind, body, and soul detriment of that. All the emotional pain, all the mind pain, all the physical pain, all of the spiritual pain. What was the cost of me continuing to use drugs and alcohol? Gosh. I had to really sit down and really, really understand this and get it at a completely different level, because the actual cost of a problem compared to a person who has gone through a similar journey of what I've gone through and they've now arrived at the other side, that was it like blew my mind when I actually really allowed that to sink in. So if there's resonance in this video, anyone who's watching, if you feel the internal pressures of life and you are really ready, because your problem is painful and everyone else around you just doesn't seem to get you, because I've been there a million times. I've lost so much in my life, but I've also now in my healing journey gained so much back. And it is my heart's mission to give back to others in many ways. One of them is sharing this knowledge and information that I've learned with people through these videos. But I also offer opportunities to come and work with me in group settings and one-to-one. And if this spoke to you, please feel free to reach out to me. You can friend request me and private message me, Amy Boswinkle, AMIEEBOSWINKLE. Or you can like and follow my business page, Connections Restored, and you can message me through that. I want to share a quick tip to help you with those stuck, repressed emotions if this really resonated with you. And what I encourage you to do is, you can come back to this video and write this down, because this journaling sequence has been really, really transformational for me. And I ask myself, what is it that I would actually like to be experiencing more of in my life? And I'll write down the answer. And I ask myself, what's important about that? What makes experiencing that so important to me? And how will I know I have arrived there? What will I look like? What will I feel like internally? How will the other important people in my life see me? What fear do I need to release in order to have this result? Because there's always a fear holding us back. Although we might say, fear isn't the right word, we'll just insert the word that feels right to you. What fear do you need to release to have this result? And do you need someone who can hold you accountable and give you the right support and create the right bite-sized chunk support map for you, so that you can be the person who says, oh my gosh, I was at point A and look at me, I'm at point B. I did it. I did it. Or do you have enough willpower that you can create that plan, that success plan for yourself? Because it really boils down to this: making sure that you create the right map for yourself so that success becomes inevitable no matter what. And remembering that knowledge does not equal behavior change. Only action creates behavior change, right? We must continually practice taking a new action to gain a new behavior. And when we create a new behavior, we create a new identity around who it is that we are. We become the person who no longer is X, and we are the person who is now Y. And I would love the opportunity to speak with you more regarding this subject if this had any resonance for you today. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for your time. I absolutely love and adore sharing all of this information with you. Again, my name is Amy Boswinkle. I am an intuitive and an energetic mind, body, and soul coach. My business is Connections Restored. Please feel free to like and follow me on at Connections Restored. You can personally friend request me. I love talking to people. Feel free to reach out anytime. And also make sure to like and follow the Bill and Callie show. They're absolutely amazing. I love being an affiliate on their network. They're absolutely amazing people doing amazing things for people in this world. And it's just so heartwarming to be connected to other beautiful, amazing hearts in this world, such as Bill and Callie. I love you all so much. Thank you for your time today, and I cannot wait to talk to you all again next week. Take care.
This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by
Connections Restored, helping people who suffer from trauma, PTSD, and addictions. Connect with us at connectionsrestored.com. Connections Restored.